Hey guys, we are coming to you from Apple Park to talk about some of the biggest announcements from WWDC 2026. We are joined by our very own Mark Spoonauer, as well as Miles Franklin, aka MilesAboveTech, and Zach Griff, founder of From the Tray Table. Thanks for being here today, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
I want to start this convo with a little bit of a throwback, because the last time we were here for WWDC, Mark asked Apple's Craig Federighi and Jaws if the plan was to make Apple a chatbot. Let's roll the tapes.
And so seemingly when some of these Siri capabilities I mentioned didn't show up, people kind of were like, well, where's your, what happened, Apple? I thought you were going to give us your chatbot. Well, that honestly is never what we set out
it was never
set out to do. That wasn't
never the goal. Yeah.
That was never the goal. That was never our goal. And it remains not, our primary goal.
And now, perhaps the most substantial thing to come out of WWDC 2026 is the fact that Siri is now a chatbot, but it also isn't. Mark, can you break it down for us?
Yes, it's both. So I think the straight answer is that Siri is now a dedicated app. And I think what Apple's trying to do is allow you to go back into and see like your past chats. But it's not designed first and foremost to be a chatbot than say like Gemini or ChatGPT is. So I think in a way they sort of had to go in that direction because they couldn't really figure out a better way to surface those chats that you had before. But I think ultimately they want Siri to be like where you are, like within the app. That's why when you swipe down, most of the interactions are going to happen within the dynamic island. And if you keep swiping down, then you'll sort of go into that full screen experience. So I would say like they're trying to have their cake and eat it too, and we'll see how well it works.
And I know you got to attend a Q&A session yesterday with Craig. I will link the article you wrote about it down in the description so you guys can check it out. Any interesting takeaways or further developments?
Yeah, I would just say like the number one thing is that they went out of their way to show us that the new Siri AI is not Gemini. So even though they're partnering with Google, they're very adamant that your data is not being seen by Google or anyone else, and that the private compute is extending to the cloud, and they're using their partners to do that. So ideally, no one is going to see your data. And you're not getting answers from Gemini. You are getting answers from the new Siri AI that could be powered by Gemini and some of their models. But ultimately, it is an Apple experience, for better or for worse, right? There's going to be pros and cons versus the other AI chatbots.
I'm glad you got some answers on that, because I think that was one of the biggest questions we had coming into this conference. But Miles, I'll throw it to you. What do you think? What are your first impressions of Siri AI?
I think the approach that they're going at is one I expected. We are seeing on the competitor side a big push towards, you're saying like Gemini and everything, to really interconnect all your things within your phone. So when we were coming into this, we were all expecting that to happen. And I think the real nice part about what Apple's doing is that instead of going by like almost an account basis, it's really taking what's on that device that it's running on. And having the ability to have multiple accounts, which we all have. We have our personal, we have our business, we have all that stuff. To be able to still use that AI to go and comb through that rather than being on one account, I think that's a great option because we just don't really have that. And having that in your pocket instead of having to go into a separate app, it's just built in. I think that's great, right? And I think also with Siri being able to change like the voices, being able to really look at textual parts that are going to populate, it's going to make the experience a lot more what we expected it to be when we saw kind of like what it might have been 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I feel like they adapted that whole app experience due to what consumers are now doing and how they believe they really want to interact with it, because 2 years in our space is like a dang decade. We think one thing and they take years to develop it, and now they looked at what people are doing after Apple Intelligence was announced in 2024 and they're like, maybe we have to kind of pull back what we said to make the experience generally what people want it to be. And from first impressions and seeing it, I am truly excited to see, especially when apps are starting to have the new API to be able to communicate with Siri. I think it's going to open up a whole lot of doors and change the way we use iPhones.
Zach, same question to you.
Yeah.
Siri AI, what do you think?
I mean, I think that, probably a good portion of the population is not yet like fully invested in AI accounts with, certainly pro accounts with Claude and ChatGPT and Gemini and stuff. So I think the first thing is it almost in a way like democratizes AI to all the iPhone users, who, you have an iPhone, now all of a sudden you have access to a pretty robust AI tool set. And like one example, right, is you can take this picture of a bill at dinner and then like be able to just kind of say, okay, Kate got that, Miles got that, and like, just easily do things that right now require more taps. And I think like that's really the unlock here. And maybe, will I still go to Claude for a particular workflow, for instance, like editing my newsletter? Like potentially, that's probably not what the mainstream is going to be using like Siri AI for.
Apple's been using a more capable assistant as the way to describe Siri AI. Do you guys think that is fair to say?
I think so, and even though they're not really using the language agentic AI that much, I think Siri AI does have like a flavor of that.
Yeah.
It definitely does.
Seriously. So for example, like the example of being able to like, what was that podcast that my sister recommended to me, and then it goes into your text messages and then surfaces that, and then you can say, play this, right? So, or being able to do two things at once, like on the Google side, it's like multi-app actions, right? It's very similar. It's like, so add these things to my calendar and then send an email. So you could actually do multiple things with the same, like with a single voice prompt, which I do think is progress. We'll just have to see how well it works in like everyday use.
I'll say, like, going back to that, the one part I feel like we really see that is the whole password part with Safari and everything.
Yeah.
It does two-factor authentication. Like, it will ask the code, put the code in, sign in for you, telling you all this, and I'm like, this is technically agentic, right? Or like, it's not really like a chat, like some of the chatbots we see like Claude and Gemini that's going like doing things for you, but it almost feels like it is at this point. Like it's getting to the point it's like little flavors that they're showing tiny little tidbits before it becomes this full-fledged like assistant for you. And I think that's it's really cool to see, and it's like this update. It's like the more we dig into it, the more we find random things that just weren't discussed that are really nice to see.
It's kind of like the Safari tab organization, right? Like you have all your browser tabs open, and almost like, again, like an agent that's kind of working on your behalf, that personal assistant. It's like, okay, well, I'll group my travel booking and then my recipes and whatnot, the news. And those are the helpful things to me, at least, that I think are going to be like key productivity unlocks from new Siri AI.
And it's free. There's no limits. That's the cool thing about it.
For now.
Yeah, for now.
I mean, we'll see what happens with like Image Playground in particular, because that is very robust. But yeah, I think for now, they're also saying, like, the other difference versus other chatbots is that they promise no ads, right? Which is a big part of like the privacy promise.
Yeah.
We'll dig in a little bit more to the Apple Intelligence features you guys brought up in just a sec. But while we have Zach, who is a travel guru, there's one feature that was announced and demonstrated with Siri AI that I knew that you were going to be all over.
Yep.
Tell me about call context. What is your audience saying? I know you posted the video. I saw it got a lot of views.
Yeah, so it's called Call Context, and I was, like, of yesterday, as someone who travels a lot and just, like, has a million emails like we all do, was so blown away. So, high level, you have a bunch of emails, calendars, reminders, notes from all your different travel and business kind of things that you do. You get on the phone with United, Delta, Marriott, any of kind of the big businesses that you call, and your phone privately, securely, which is actually really cool. It's not, your phone knows you're calling, let's say Marriott. It's not going to say to Apple servers like, oh, Zach Griff is calling Marriott right now. Like, let me go surface all this information. And the information it surfaces on the call screen is relevant travel, itineraries. Or if it's maybe a restaurant, it would be like your restaurant confirmation. And that is such a massive unlock. Now, again, for someone like me who might have like 3 trips upcoming when I call United, like, I've asked, like, does that mean I'll get 3 little sheets, that I can swipe through to say, oh, this is the one I'm calling for. It'll surface things like your confirmation number, your flight information, your hotel booking, confirmation. Those are, to me, the real productivity unlock, because, think about digging through all the emails that you have right now to just surface these things while you're on hold, and then you're trying to mute, and then switch the swipe to like Mail, and Mail's now like the 8th app behind because you were on Instagram and Notes, and you're taking notes of the whole thing. So I think that's great. I think my audience is also obviously really excited. Everyone's like, wow, this could really be a game changer, and it got what, like 15 seconds of mention at Keynote, but it is really big.
Sometimes it really is those kind of small quality of life things that make a difference. And I found over the years that the call features, like holding and call screening, those were announced last year, right? Those are things that are already part of my everyday. But speaking of, what kind of content you do, Miles, I know that when I'm watching a MilesAboveTech video, I'm going to get tech news broken down in a way that kind of cuts through, tells us what actually matters. What do you think some of the misconceptions about Siri AI are? What have you seen online so far?
I mean, the thing is that I've seen more with the photo part, like more negative parts with photos. I think that's a big thing as of late with originality. The Siri part is just like, finally. Like,
Yeah.
it's like I have been waiting for this for who knows how long, because I've been hearing a constant thing. I feel like my Siri's dumber than it was on my iPhone, like it's not 9, 10. It's like, why does it feel like it's worse? I'm like, well, there's a lot of things playing to this part. We have this whole ChatGPT thing. It just wasn't what people expected with all these chatbots that are coming out, and with Gemini being so prevalent and advertised so heavily that people are now seeing that and using it. So the big thing is it really going to work? That's because we saw it 2 years ago. Everybody was expecting it. I had a couple of videos from that 2024. They're like, oh my God, this is the future, this and that. Didn't happen. And people were like, so they said it again. Are we really going to see it? I think that's the biggest thing. Is they don't believe it's not going to work because there's things that have similar process on how they go about, but it's just, when are we going to get it? Is it going to be exactly what they say in the presentation? And will it be as useful as we're seeing it here in this current state at WWDC?
But at least in Keynote this time, like, they were live demos.
Yes.
Like, it felt very much, at least,
of course.
like, we were waiting, for some of these things to, like, process. So, like, hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah.
I'm
Live but canned, right?
Yeah.
Like, and very well rehearsed, right? So there's
Yes.
not much that can go wrong. But I get the skepticism, right? Because like there was a class action lawsuit, and then it's been a couple of years. But yeah, now it's put up or shut up time, and I think the dev beta itself and then the public beta, I think, is going to be very telling in terms of like the reception and how. And Apple has said themselves, like, they've been responding to criticisms, and that was one of the big things with iOS 27 and some of the things that rolled out this week, is that they do seem to be listening.
And I think a big part too is that we all know with this new update is that we have, well, Apple Intelligence. But hey, on the 17 Pro and everything that came out last year, that's the better version, And now people are
what does
like,
that mean?
But like, what does that mean? All I think was like, it's like a couple things, but in the daily experience, will it be that different? And people are like, oh wow, it's already being kind of like stratified. And they're like, what does this mean for my Siri then? Is my Siri on the phone that I bought that was all advertised for Apple Intelligence not going to be the same as the one as this? And I think that's the big skepticism. It's like, is it going to work the way they presented it? And we'll see over time. We'll see with these betas, and we'll see once it launches around like September time, it does every year.
Yeah, you bring up some interesting points. I think we're going to have to put this Siri AI through its paces. I think we're going to see it in travel. We're going to see it compared to other AIs. And of course, we can't talk about Siri AI without talking about Apple Intelligence. We've been doing it in many ways. I would argue they're one and the same. But we did get some significant updates under the Apple Intelligence umbrella for this WWDC. Mark, we were here 2 years ago, right, when Apple Intelligence was first introduced.
Yep.
What would you describe the progression like from 2 years ago to now?
Slow? I mean, yeah. I think it's definitely like way overdue. But I think what we saw at WWDC is that we're starting to get to a point where you can say, like, it's working, right?
Yes.
Or there's a promise of that it's going to help me every day. And I think ultimately that's the test. I mean, for me, like, as when you're a journalist, it's like, okay, so what are the wow features? But I think for everyday people, it's like, is it going to save me time? Is it going to make my life easier, right? And those are, I think, probably the two biggest things that, that for me that comes out of WWDC is like, I feel like they're heading down that path. But there are still some things that are missing. Like, I think, just as an example, I think visual intelligence is definitely a step forward. But based on the demos that I've seen and everything that's out there, it's not truly live. Like, it's not truly live like Gemini Live. Like, as you pan around the room and you ask questions about what's in front of you, like I think with the visual intelligence, you actually still need to take that picture and then it analyzes what you're seeing. It's not real time. Maybe we'll get there, but I still feel like, so it's a big step forward, but I still feel like there's a long way to go.
And going back to something you guys said earlier, that there are often like these really little moments. There's even stuff that is in press releases that we shift through, and there are a lot of features to talk about with Apple Intelligence this time around. So I thought the best way to go through it would be in a rapid fire round. I'll name the feature. You guys are going to tell me whether you'll use it. I want a yes, no, or TBD answer. And TBD will be reserved for if you actually need to see it in action to see how it works. Number 1, spatial reframing.
I see myself using it.
Yes?
Yes.
100%.
Yes?
All the time because it's just fun.
Yeah, exactly.
But who knows how
it's like
often, though? That's the
Right.
thing. Like, I might use it once, then never use it again. But, you know, that one time you might need it, it comes in clutch.
Yeah, and if you have a job where people take photos and content of you, right, you need some help.
Especially like for me, a lot of my pictures are like on a very quick moment during like the travel experience, and
Sure.
like I can't redo them.
Yeah.
So that's really cool.
You touched on this one earlier, Safari tab groupings.
Yes.
Yes? Yes?
I like that.
No, because I'm on Chrome. But I wish I had it on Chrome.
Yeah, I've been going back and forth between the two. It's like if I need battery, I would go to Safari. I'm on Chrome, I'm at home.
This was a quick one during the keynote. Describe an extension.
No.
No?
TBD.
TBD?
I would, yes, just because it actually might get me to use Safari a little bit more because it's not something I can do on Chrome.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Something that I need to see if it actually makes my life easier.
The idea sounds cool to me, but I'm like, will I actually go and do it? I'm like, I barely use my extensions right now.
Okay, wait. Related, but another good one. Natural language shortcuts.
Yes.
I think I want the answer to be yes, but I've been so bogged down in like the OG shortcuts that like this really needs to be like easy for me to actually like get behind it.
Based on the demos, I'd say yes, because that's the reason why I haven't done it up until
Exactly.
now.
I'm gonna say I barely use shortcuts because I go into it, I was like, yeah, you know what? Just get a copy off someone's like thing. Just take the
I've
share.
saved so many videos online of shortcut demos that are just going to be useless now. I never actually use them. Now I don't need to.
I will say, what I used to do with shortcuts, when I needed to diagnose it, I'd screenshot them, send them, upload them to an AI, chatbot, and like we'd diagnose it, and we still couldn't get it right. So I was like, this is
I
great.
give up. Like copy and paste it all mine.
Will you guys be using auto proofreading?
I can't spell yes.
YSE.
Yes.
I'm going to say no because I'm offended.
Yeah, I'm probably. I think my copy's pretty good.
All right. And last one, the one-tap suggestions in messages.
I use it from time to time on other platforms. So it's not something. It's just like something I'm quick and I'm walking around. I don't feel like typing. So yes.
Yeah, neither here nor there, I'd say.
I'd say yes if it works well, because like Magic Queue on the Android side, where like if something comes through like in a text and it recommends that you bring something up like photos or a calendar, if it works in the moment, then I'd say yes.
Exactly.
Zach, of any of the ones that we just kind of went through, any sound particularly relevant through a travel lens?
Yeah, I mean, I talked a little bit about Safari, automatic tab organization, which I think is really cool. Now, I'm a little bit skeptical of like describe your shortcut, natural language shortcuts. That could be a major unlock for folks who are like, hey, I'm on airport routine or I'm checking into a hotel, so it orders your Uber to SFO or JFK. It pre-orders your Starbucks maybe, and it surfaces like the airline app so you can get into the TSA lane or whatever. That would be amazing. Now, how will that work? I think we'll really see like when we actually go put the betas through like the testing. And that said, that could really be a big unlock. And they've talked a lot about how like smart stack's getting smarter and like all these kind of non-Siri AI but adjacent things towards travel that I see. If I were able to package it together into a shortcut, that could be amazing.
Miles, I know that you've had the opportunity to check out a lot of different device ecosystems. Where do you think Apple Intelligence now ranks among the competition?
I think they're finally getting to the minimum where they had to be. It felt like, as we were talking about in this podcast, it's like it was playing catch up. Like, let's be completely honest. It was catching up to what the competition is, and I feel like the competition has been doing this weird iteration where it's like not even full updates. It's like, well, here's a new thing, even though the updates are still yearly. They're doing these drops every 3 months. So I think they're finally there, and I think the part where Apple succeeds and really surpasses competition is due to their vertical integration and their ecosystem. It just allows them to do more with what they have. We see with Google trying to do Google Book, they're trying to do what Apple has, and the ability for Apple to put this across all their devices just allows for something that competition can't do. Phone side, yes, they're finally up with everything else. Ecosystem-wide, there's really nothing that's doing that, where you can have Siri and your same AI go between all your devices and really have that just seamless transition between them.
Mark, same question to you. Has Apple done enough?
Remains to be seen. I think that it's definitely a good first step. I'm particularly encouraged by the personal context aspect of it, where it knows about you and knows who your family members are and things like that, and then pulls that information in from other apps. And I think that can save people time. I feel like the one thing that's missing is the one thing that Apple's really good at traditionally at WWDC and other events is they highlight other developers and third parties, right? I feel like that was missing from this particular keynote, where here's what this developer has gone and done, and here's how they're plugging into Siri AI. Maybe it's because it just took so long to develop that they couldn't really cross that threshold. But I hope at least by the September event, we'll get an update in terms of here's how it's coming to life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really happy you brought up the specifics of this keynote, because this keynote was a big one for a reason having nothing to do with everything we've just talked about. Of course, I'm talking about this being Tim Cook's last as CEO. Mark, you have been here through many, many years. Not to put you on the spot there, but we've been coming here for only in more recent years. Would you say that his final headlining keynote was on brand?
I think it was, because he was very thankful and appreciative of the developers, and I think that he knows that they make Apple, right? Without them, it's very hard to, for Apple to exist. So I think it was a proper send-off, not just by him, but I think by Craig Federighi at the beginning of the keynote, where this doesn't happen without Tim. And I think there's this perception out there that he's just the numbers guy, but behind the scenes, there's been reporting just within the last week that he was intimately involved with the development of Siri AI. And I think part of it is because I don't think his legacy was on the line. It's already been cemented. But he wanted to go out on a high note. And I think, based on what they demoed at this show, he's doing that.
Mm-hmm. Not sure if you guys caught it, but Mark actually interviewed incoming Apple CEO John Ternus just a couple of weeks before the announcement was made official. The next time we are going to be here will likely be his first time headlining a keynote. Anything you're kind of looking forward to his debut in September?
I hope from what we have with Neo is that there's more just him on stage.
Yeah.
I love that aspect because it brings the more human element of hey, sometimes things mess up, but it's he's here and he's really showing us I want to be known that I am the CEO, because it's gonna be a big transition. Everybody knows Tim Cook's the CEO, and then this person not many people have heard of before. They're who's this guy? So hopefully he brings that human element to really introduce him to the world that he hasn't before.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just really excited to see what his signature thing will be. Right?
Yeah.
It's not, I assume it won't be good morning, but
Oh.
but he's got I'm sure there's a team figuring that out here.
What's the catchphrase?
Yeah, what's his thing going to be? That's what he comes to say, what is he going to talk about? Is he going to be more we're going to start it off the show with an intro type thing? Everybody has their own spiel and their own thing when it comes to their companies.
He's probably not going to jump out of planes like Craig, but I'm excited just because his background is being a hardware nerd, and I feel sometimes that in the AI era, that is sometimes forgotten. But when you think about what's in the product pipeline, a lot of it is AI devices, smart glasses, maybe an AI pendant, AirPods, with cameras. So if there's a person who could potentially lead that charge, I think he's a good pick.
And the next time we will see you guys here will be in September. A lot of people call it the iPhone event, but that actually might be more fitting than ever, because in addition to the expected iPhone 18, the latest rumors point to this being the time where we see Apple's first foldable phone. And if you want to learn more, make sure you keep it locked to Tom's Guide. Until then, that'll about do it for this episode of the Tom's Guide podcast from Apple Park. Thank you guys for joining. Where can we find you both, Zach and Miles?
MilesAboveTech on every platform. Yeah.
And I'm Zach Griff, ZachGriff on all the social platforms. And then my newsletter called From the Tray Table. Hit it on Google and add your email.
Yeah, please go check them out and let them know that you came from the Tom's Guide video. And that will do it for today. Thanks for watching. We will catch you guys in the next one.
Awesome.